Local recording in 3, 2, 1. Episode 76 is brought to you by Soldier 76. Do you get it? Do you see what I did there?
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to HighNoon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast, and, of course, your first-hand source for all of the Game of Thrones spoilers you could ever want and need. So let's just dive right into it. Death, how was that first episode again? Okay, we're not doing it. I haven't even seen it yet.
I don't care that you haven't seen it. I don't care. Play the bell right now. That's on you. You're not immune.
That's true.
You're lucky that the listeners are immune to Game of Thrones spoilers.
That's true.
Or we would go.
I would be getting
20
spoiled
minute
right
tangent. Now. Yeah, every single week for the next 7 weeks.
That's right. There's only 7 episodes, but let's try not to get. Although actually, we probably have a little bit of time to go on some.
We do. It's a pretty late episode.
Yeah, but.
So do you want to explain yourself or try to justify your terrible decision making that led you to not watching the episode?
I wish I could say it wasn't a girl's fault, but it definitely is. So,
he's got nothing.
I've got nothing. I mean, it is a girl's fault. So, and she knows who she is. So, and I'm just, she's probably not watching. Maybe she is. I don't know. She'll watch it later and feel bad right now. So,
I will not stop giving him grief about this until he sees it. So that's your fault, Grill.
Yeah, well, I do, in fact, know what Harrison Jones' attack animation is.
You do, all too well.
I sure do. But let's move on. I mean, we talked about what I didn't do last week. Death, you want to talk about what you did do last week?
So, yeah, I had another match for the Open Division, and we got teased a little bit here. We won our first map against them, and it was not super close. And then we got swept the rest of them.
Ooh, the reverse sweep.
Yeah, and it was funny because, they picked the map, right? And then they, didn't pick maps again. So it was, only the map they picked. Well, no, they picked the second one, too. Okay, so we split the ones they picked. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but I think they just weren't warmed up. I think they were kind of scrambling to get the team together.
Yeah.
And we, had 5 people playing for an hour and a half, and the 6th person came in and played a game quick, and then we went into it. So, yeah, I don't know. There's definitely some merit to the warm-up games, that's for sure. But we are also we're down people. This is such a makeshift team at this point that it's really, really difficult to, carry momentum in and stuff.
Yeah.
We've got, a healer that usually plays Mercy, and we're not a big Pharah team, so it creates a lot of differences in play style. Puts me on Lucio instead of Zen, and not that I'm a bad Lucio, but I have a much bigger impact on Zenyatta. Yeah. Obviously, when you're good at a character like Zen, you have a bigger impact than you would on a Lucio. So.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be weird, just playing with a ramshackle makeshift team too. But so yeah, for me, I didn't do a whole heck of a lot of interesting stuff. I did start my new job a couple of days ago, so that's interesting. I got a lot of interesting stuff going on with that, including potentially getting into some more esports stuff. So. I'm not gonna talk too much about that because it's very unlikely to happen anytime soon.
You don't talk about work. I still don't know what you do for a living. You always brush it off.
I'm a transponster. No, it's not exciting or important.
All I know is it's in the sales arena. That's all I'm aware of.
Business development is the term. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha. He hates talking about it. I don't blame him.
It's
just talking about work.
Boring and not at all related to Overwatch until it becomes related about Overwatch, and then we'll start talking about it more.
If it makes you feel any better, mine will never. Overwatch will never need to print barcodes and shipping labels. So I'm doomed.
You never know. But Overwatch probably does need to sell stuff to people, so That's where I come in. But I also am now confirmed into a new place, so that I'm not in the new place yet, but I submitted my application to live there, and it went through, and we put a deposit down. So new place incoming, and potential podcast studio being built in new place. Not actually physically being built up. Might turn the third room into a podcast studio. Who knows?
I like it. I'll come over every week to do the show. I don't care.
That would be sweet. Yeah, no, that would actually be really awesome. Yeah, I do. I'm going to be living in Elmwood Village, which is another cool and hip place to live in Buffalo. But, the last thing, I started playing another physical card game again, a little bit. I got the starter decks for Star Wars Destiny, which I don't know if you've seen it at all. It's actually pretty sweet. I don't know how are you Star Wars person or no?
I'm not a fanatic about it like I am with GOT, but I'm a fan. I like Star Wars things.
I think we're in the exact same boat for Star Wars.
Right?
That's almost my exact canned response.
I really, really like it, but I'm not. I don't I don't care about what's canon and what's not. And
Right. So I liked the the new episodes. Episode 1, 2, and 3, because we were kids when they came out, and I'm like, ooh, aliens and Gungans and stuff are awesome, right. And Darth Maul is awesome, and diehard old gen Star Wars people just throw up.
How do you feel about Ewoks?
I'm apathetic about Ewoks. That's a How I Met Your Mother,
How I
right?
Met Your Mother thing all about it.
Yeah, yep, that's right. See, I know. So now the girl is going to be upset that I called her out for making me miss Game of Thrones, but is going to be super happy that we mentioned How I Met Your Mother. So, whatever. But let's move right along. We've already spent more time talking about us than we ever should. Let's go on to what did you guys do last week? By you, I mean the community at large. So had an interesting article come out either yesterday or today, Monday or Tuesday, in the future past fake podcast world. The days of podcast futures past. I don't know. Terry Crews did an interview with someone who I don't have the link to. Yes, I do. Basically, he was asked about DOOFMIIST and the fact that he obviously didn't do DOOFMIIST's voice, and was asked if he's upset about that, and he said, no, I'm not upset about that. And he said he thinks there's something coming. So maybe some Terry Crews still in Overwatch confirmed? Maybe?
I don't think you know what the word confirmed means.
Well, I am looking forward to hearing Terry Crews potentially in Overwatch. Hopeful.
Yes.
Hopeful confirmed. My hope confirmed. And in that vein, we also got the news that DOOFMIIST is officially being brought to Overwatch on the 27th, and which is
8 days from future past podcast land.
Right, which is weird because the 27th is a Thursday, and usually patches and whatnot are on Tuesdays.
So my thinking there, and I don't have this confirmed or anything like that, obviously, is that we're likely to see, because I did see in the OW in the announcement, the first thing I saw said that DOOFMIIST is playable in ranked on the 27th. Okay. And so what I think that means is that we're going to be getting him at an earlier time than the 27th, and he'll be unplayable in ranked but playable in the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to be, 2 days isn't a long time for that. So I don't know if, what the plan is there. It is also possible that in, tomorrow or Thursday, is when we actually get it here. And now patches and things are usually on Tuesdays. But here's what I think that's eventually, essentially boiled down to at this point is they're going to put the content out when it's ready.
Right.
Okay, so they're going to release the patches, but their server maintenance days, when the servers will come down for extended periods of time to do things, that's on Tuesday. And that's been that way with World of Warcraft forever, and that's why that date, I think, is so stuck in so many people's minds, because you can't wake up on Tuesday morning and play World of Warcraft if you want to, because it's down until, it was 2 p.m., I think, my time, something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly when it drops, but it's very, very soon. We'll have one more episode where we get to talk about him hypothetically, and then after that, it will be our experiences and comps
Mm-hmm.
that we are using them in, things like that. So
Yeah.
at least those of us that play the game. But
I'm planning on playing some more. Okay, it's definitely planned. Plan confirmed.
that means starting the 27th, you have 7 days to do your placement games, or you lose the beard.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a thing.
I might
So
just
get
do them
done.
tonight. I might
Yeah,
just
you
do them tonight.
might as well get working on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly what goes on with him. They're still playing with him on PTR. They nerfed him a bunch to the general outrage of everybody, and which was really funny to me because the general outrage before they nerfed him was that he was OP and something had to be done.
Yeah.
And then they nerfed him, and then everybody's mad at how they nerfed him. And
How
I
did
get
they
the
even nerf him?
conversation. They did some things that kind of changed him mechanically. The total distance traveled was reduced 20% on his rocket punch. The seismic slam was changed. Like, you used to be able to get like really solid vertical movement out of it. You know, you could really get to some what felt like unintended spaces and things like that. But so they kind of cleaned up that. They made that not really able to gain verticality and things like that. But it's and I get not liking to play or not liking to change things that kind of change the way mechanically the hero works, right? But he's not out yet. So the time you spent on PTR learning things, it's PTR. Like, it's not ever guaranteed. Like, you when you hit play on PTR, you've signed up for those changes. So while I admit that I haven't been a fan of the other prime examples of that, the Winston bubble change, you know, they've reverted it since then, but we were both of us very kind of upset about it at the time. The Widow quick scoping, I still wish they'd undo it because it just felt so much better and cooler to play the character back then. When it was set up a certain way. And I get it, when the character's out, the game's out, it's released, you've put hours and hours and hours into these characters, it's kind of wrong for them to change functionally how the characters work. But when they're still on PTR, guys, shut up, please. Because it's just, until they release it, you don't have any ground to stand on with your argument.
Do people forget what PTR stands for?
Right.
The T test. Literally, like, they've literally said multiple times, like, before they release PTR, it's like, none of these changes are final. Like, nothing is finalized. Like, everything can change. People are like, I don't believe my Doomfist is getting changed. What are you doing, Jeff? It's like,
and
oh
like
my
you,
God.
You only had a week, and I get wanting to go out there and play the hero as much as you can and learn things, and you get really used to stuff. So I get that you're upset about it, like that you're frustrated, but it's not a cause for outrage. It's just unfortunate, right? Like, and you still gain that advantage, right? Like, it's not like you weren't playing Doomfist all week, and you're
that
not.
person is still way better than at Doomfist than I am.
So much better. So calm down. Everything's okay.
Just remember, you're still better at Doomfist than Blevins. That's all you need to remember.
I'll log into the game sometime this month. It'll happen, I promise.
You probably shouldn't promise that.
That or the beard's going.
That's true. And it's getting mighty fine right now.
Yeah. Anyways, so he's a lot of fun, it looks like, but everybody's just kind of got to wait. Like, do yourself a favor and use this as a lesson. In the future, when they release a hero, just get a feel for it and then put it down until it comes out, because they give you that week anyways, or at least give it a week. Give it some time, right? I don't know. Don't go all in on the PTR, but play it a little bit, get a feel for it, and then go back to regular.
Or go all in and just remember that you're still going to be better than Blevins. So, but let's move on.
Do the bare minimum and know you'll be better.
Yeah, that is probably true. So let's move right along. I saw this this post on Reddit, and I love Reddit. Deathblow hates Reddit, but I thought I got kind of a little bit of a kick out of this. It's the Overwatch Murphy's Laws. So the Murphy's Law is if something bad can happen, it will happen, or something like that.
Yeah,
it's something like that.
Generally.
So basically, it's just a list of like the worst things or bad things that can happen in Overwatch, and they tend to happen. They probably don't happen all that often, but they stick out in people's minds because of negative.
They feel
biases.
like they do.
Yeah, it's a whole human psychology thing. But I thought they were kind of funny. The link is going to be in the show notes, which will be in the description. But the one that I found that I thought was kind of funny, or that I felt not necessarily as funny, but that I felt so often was that the Widowmakers on my team can never hit the broadside of a barn, but the Widowmakers on the enemy team feel like they have aimbot. Like
Stop playing Widowmaker.
I was like, that harkens back to a joke I used to make back in the day, like before May was even remotely playable. I'd be like, man, every time I queue up in solo queue, my team always has a May on attack. And it's like, I mean, it's me, but still, my team always has a May on attack. And I know you had one. You picked one out too. Devin.
I did. This is generally speaking. I just want to say, it was a good article. It was a funny read. Check it out. Thumb through it. Some of them, though, people, like you're complaining about your lack of understanding. Okay, so it was if you guardian angel. So if you use your shift on Mercy, you will always fly past your teammates right into the enemies. Guys, there's a setting. Okay. And when you activate or set it the right way, all right, you only go forward with that ability for as long as you're holding shift. So you let go of shift, you stop flying forward. I struggled with that a lot on Mercy when I was learning it too. I'm not even sure the setting existed back then, though I think it did. But yeah,
been in for a long time.
Do some research on things that are bothering you about heroes, because odds are there's ways to fix the problem that you're having. Like there's a couple of them that I just read them and I'm like,
So wait, how do I fix the not being able to hit targets with Widowmaker?
You revert to so many patches ago so that it's worth it to aim at the body instead of that.
You just never update your game.
Or install aim hacks.
Yeah, that's true. I tried, and I'm so bad that the aim hacks didn't work. I only did all right with aim hacks.
You found a way to break the aim hacks.
Yeah, Blizzard didn't ban me because they were just like, aw.
He forgot to double click the executable. It's not even running.
He's still bad. He's still bad. But I feel like we've laughed more during this episode than we've actually talked about stuff, but maybe that's a good thing. But let's move right along to some more laughing and my favorite segment of the show.
Overwatch Today, meme of the week.
And even though last episode was brought to us by DOOFMIIST, I feel like we've actually technically by DOOFMIIST. I feel like we've talked about DOOFMIIST more this episode, and let's keep up with that. With the meme of the week, we have it's another DOOFMIIST one. And the top says, so in reference to DOOFMIIST, has a giant mechanical fist that can destroy skyscrapers with a single punch. And then the bottom says, uses left arm for melee attack.
I went off on this in Discord with my team when we went onto the PTR to try him out. Yeah. I was like, I will not play this guy. This is the most ridiculous, egregious thing I've ever seen in my life. Why would you have a gigantic Doomfist if you're just going to give somebody a jab with your offhand and your left hand? Like, wait, I don't.
It's what? So stupid. Like I want Blizzard to put out like a really like obscure, like tongue-in-cheek and stupid lore behind why he uses his left hand, because it's like egregiously dumb that he uses his left hand.
I can frame the argument for him. I don't like it and I don't agree with it, but I can frame the argument for him.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's called a quick melee.
Boo.
And the Doomfist weighs so much that you can't move it quickly. Also, it's only going to deal 50 damage or however much damage it does. I think it's 50, right? Because it used to be 75, got nerfed up.
Yeah.
But it's only going to do 50 damage, and if this fist destroys skyscrapers, how are you going to explain it only doing 50 damage?
Here's how you do it. It's a backhand. It's a quick backhand, like a quick little flick. Like that would have been funnier if it was like the powered up punch, and then the melee is just like boom, 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 like a quick flick. Like it, like literally, like flicks with his fingers, like poing, poing. Like that's what his melee would be. It would only do 50 damage. It would be hilarious. It would be aesthetically pleasing.
I'm on your side, 100%.
Yeah.
Like it infuriates me. It's not that way. But I'm just, trying to help Blizzard out a little bit.
I know. I mean, when Blizzard starts listening to HighNoon podcast, they'll just have a wealth of ideas.
I'll know they have a friend in me, and also they'll know exactly how to build Hammond so that they don't make me mad.
Yeah, it's a jockey from Left 4 Dead.
But instead of eating your brains when it jumps on your back, it patches you up and heals you up.
Yep.
And jumps off your back.
Or can eat the brains of the enemy, and it's also voiced by Terry Crews. But let's move right along to It's Tournament Talk. tournament talk. Not a ton, a little bit to talk about. Not a ton to talk about this week. Of course, in true Apex fashion, the Apex finals still have not been played. We still have over a week from release of this episode.
Fun fact, when we record next week, I'm sorry, when you're listening next week, it still won't have happened yet. It'll be 2 days after you're listening next week, so it's a week from Friday. Does that make it? Yeah. So it'll be a week from Friday. It's coming up pretty soon, but yeah, it's still got a little bit to go. So we have no results there from the Apex tournament.
Yeah, and then we've got some initial Overwatch World Cup results.
Yes.
As well. So we've got
Group A and B are decided.
Yes, Group A and B are decided. So, Death, do you want to go over this? Because I'm very confused about this chart. I'm too stupid to give up.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, the groups play out here like any other tournament would with a group stage. Everybody plays against everybody. Then the top two go into a best of 5 playoff that decides who represents the group in the finals at BlizzCon, or in the top 8 at BlizzCon. So Group A played it out, and Group A consisted of China, Norway, Hong Kong, and Romania. Now, I know you're looking at the results, but you want to take a wild guess who won?
I'm going to go ahead and say China probably won that
Yeah,
one.
You probably got that one right. So there wasn't a whole lot of really mystery behind this group in particular, and you have China at 3 wins, Norway at 2 wins, Hong Kong at 1 win, and Romania at 0 wins. They were very nice to step down evenly 3 points at a time throughout the course of this year. The finals was decided 3-0, China over Thailand. Nope.
No. See, that's why I got so confused.
Yeah, that is confusing. Why?
Because this is how I got confused. Because we have we have a bracket here that shows China played against Thailand and they won 3-0. But China and Thailand are not even in the same group. And then here's the other thing. France and Norway are also playing. France and Norway aren't in the same group, which is like, okay, so the loser, second place played for, but Thailand didn't even, okay, I think I figured it out. So China, who was first place in Group A, played against second place from Group B, I guess. And then first place from Group B, France, played against second place from Group A, which is Norway. So France won against Norway 3-0. And the reason that we're seeing China playing against Thailand is because if you look at it, even though the results show that Denmark was in second place, if you look at it, Thailand and Denmark were dead even, 4 points apiece. Yeah. So they must have played some sort of tiebreaker that actually Thailand won.
Yeah, okay. So, sorry, Gosu Gamers, but we're not using your brackets anymore because Winston's Lab has it better here.
Yeah. Was I right?
Yeah, but what I don't understand, I guess, is why China played against Thailand instead of against Norway. Like, I felt like they were I thought they were deciding between their groups. I don't know. Personally, I didn't watch a ton of this tournament, so I didn't.
For whatever reason, first place in the group played against second place in the opposing group. I don't know why, but that's what it looks like.
All right. Well, coming out of the tournament, it does look as though we still have China and France in the running here. So the top 2 teams from each of the groups are the ones that are continuing to advance. Thailand and Norway lost 3-0 respectively in their matches that started the playoffs. Really, I mean, this was just one of those things where, I mean, China was 12-0 in maps. France was 10-2. So there was definitely some worth in watching their matches, and I think it's telling from our perspective because France, that's Rogue.
It's basically just Rogue 100%, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm very surprised that they actually dropped dropped really any maps in the group. I mean, not that the teams in their group, Denmark and Thailand and Argentina, are complete slouches. Argentina, though, only managed 1 map win. So, I mean, there was definitely, there's not a lot of balance to these groups. I mean, other than the fact that they're balanced across the groups, like you don't have, the top 4 teams all in one group and only 2 of them get to come out. So, that's good. But it kind of does make, in my mind, the qualifiers a little tough to stomach, especially when you combine it with it's all just this one big exhibition. So I'm not your biggest World Cup fan, but I am paying attention. I had a busy weekend and didn't get to sit down and watch this one super in depth.
And they're also still being played at EU times, and so it's
That's right. It started at like 1 a.m. or something like that. So I would get to watch a little bit before I started falling asleep. But when you're watching 3-0 rompings, it's really hard to keep your eyes open, force yourself to stay awake.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, like compared to traditional sports, like people aren't really tuning in necessarily to these early matches unless you're, a Romania fan. Maybe there was a big turnout in Romania but like you're not watching these early like preliminary things. You want to see the brackets, so to speak, not the play-in matches.
Right. Yeah, it'll be much more exciting when the full-on playoffs get started and they actually get into BlizzCon. But for the time being, it's a little bit of a slog. But I mean, at the same time, there was a lot to watch here this weekend, and I'm going to go back and watch some of the VODs. It's like I said, just had a busy weekend. But things like some of the first Horizon Lunar Colony maps that some of these pro teams are playing. So we're finally getting a look into that meta a little bit and what things are going to be there. Because personally, from my perspective, my team doesn't run dive on that map. Like, I mean, we have, and it's worked okay, but we have a much better time with like a Reaper standing behind a Reinhardt shield, walking up to the point very slowly and taking the whole team out. So I think there's definitely a decent chance that, like you see, I mean, 2CP clearly has already made a case for itself that we can have a different meta here than anywhere else. I.e. Sombra comp everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'll be really interesting and fun to see exactly how it plays out. But, we'll have to wait and see exactly, because things are going to change again, right? Like, I feel like we're going to have DOOFMIIST before, we're going to have one more set of group stages, and then DOOFMIIST will be out. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be legal right away. So,
yeah, I would hope. I would hope that it is. I mean, Heroes of the Storm does these weird like broken up like instances where like a hero will get released on the quote unquote real or live game, but they won't be used in their like HTC like pro matches for a while, which is just really weird to me. Like they like revert back a patch, or they like don't like whatever. It's just kind of weird. But I don't know if the tournament server does exist. That's probably what they're using for Overwatch, but it would, I don't know. I would hope that they didn't do that. Like, just throw them into the wolves. Like, let DOOFMIIST run free.
Yeah, I think that really should, because I mean, we've already seen these teams are going to be super, super hesitant to run it, right? Like, we know that they don't like to use brand new heroes as they get released. So I don't think it would necessarily. I mean, unless he's super busted when they come out, but we'll have to wait. I mean,
they can hot fix him, I guess, but. Let's I mean, I think we'll like this stage specifically, like it's early on in the Overwatch World Cup, and these teams weren't particularly competitive with each other. I think there are some spots where they'll be a little bit more exciting, especially moving on into the tournament. I think we'll definitely be there, but let's move right along.
Just to point out, this weekend I think even has a good chance of that. Like, I don't know much about the Japanese World Cup roster, but I know Finland has been having a little trouble lately, because that should just be rest in pajamas for the most part.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a good opportunity for some really strong matchups this weekend. But yeah, all the groups won't be winners.
Yeah, for sure. But let's just play it again. We'll break it down twice. And actually, speaking of breaking it down twice, the first break it down actually happened this week with Deathblow's new segment that he created for the HighNoon podcast YouTube channel, which I thought was really great. You want to talk about that, Death?
Yeah, so I'm doing the HighNoon solo queue VOD review. It's basically where I've talked about before, I'm trying to get into coaching. I've got the team I coach for. I had another one with a podcast, I believe it was a podcast fan, reached out to me, asked me to sit in on one of their scrims. So I watched and recorded a scrim for them on Saturday, and then we're going to sit down this Saturday, go over it, and they're going to ask me questions and things like that. So you're going to have a nice little VOD review session with them soon too. But also I have individual people that don't play as a team that still would like to get better. And they've, I've been talking to people. I've seen, obviously, VOD reviews are out there on YouTube. I haven't reinvented the wheel, but people have asked for me to help them, and it's really hard, to play a game with somebody, focus on your own hero, but also glean enough of what they're doing. Like, you don't get to offer insight on every single move that they make and really get down. And sometimes you don't even see the actual problem, right? Like the heart of the problem.
Yeah.
It's hard to notice their positioning. So I'm having people send me VODs of their competitive games. Put them on YouTube. You can leave them unlisted, whatever, but send them into us. You can send them either on Twitter. You can send them by email, highnoonpodcast@gmail.com. You might need to tweet at me and tell me that it's there.
I'll see it and I can let you know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. If you see any come in there, definitely let me know. I know we got one today, but he also DM'd it to me on Discord.
Yep.
So yeah, but if you want to, feel free to post something to YouTube or somewhere where I can download it. It's important that I'm able to download it. YouTube is the best and most preferred option. And then I will sit down, record myself watching your VOD and giving commentary throughout the whole thing, talking a lot about, positioning, things you can do to improve your play, better decisions you can make, things like that, how you can work with your team maybe to improve a little bit. Now, you'll want to stick specifically to a hero for the purposes of the VOD review. If you have somebody like Symmetra, feel free to send me 2 defenses. Don't play Symmetra on attack.
Attack Symmetra, activate!
Now, to be fair, if you're going to be out there playing Symmetra on attack anyways, and you want to know how to do better at it, I will help you. But don't do things like that you wouldn't normally be doing, right? If you wouldn't normally play it on attack, just record 2 defenses or something along those lines, like I said. But so just send in a sampling. It could be 1 round, half a round, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to necessarily make videos out of all of them, but I do promise feedback to everybody as of right now. As long as I can keep up with them. Hopefully, I don't anticipate there to be such an influx that I can't watch them all. But I will always give you feedback, and then if I think I can make a good video where I sit down and talk for a full hour, I will definitely make a video, or not a full hour, but a full, the whole time throughout the duration of the match and the VOD. Then I'll make a video out of it. So.
Yeah, and honestly, like, just as a viewer, not even as, part of High Noon, like, I really liked the first one you did, and you guys should definitely check it out. It's over at HighNoon Podcast, the YouTube page. It's super insightful. It was an Anubis on both sides, attack and defense, from the perspective of Soldier 76, and there was a lot of, like, what I really, really liked was there was a lot of times where I, as a, platinum-esque level player, would have done the same thing that the person in the video did. And, death in your, obviously, master and, competitive 6Q perspective, like, you're like, okay, you need to keep high ground here. Where, like, naturally it's like, okay, well, I want to go down and take the point, where it's like, no, but really you should just keep the high ground, let your tanks take the point or stay behind your tanks, like stuff like that, where, like, when you're first starting to play, or even if you're playing a lot but you don't have that perspective and get that feedback, you're not naturally inclined to do these things. Like, you want to push forward, especially with Soldier 76, where you're running forward. You want to push forward and be that guy. But and even in points where the person didn't even lose the point or do anything necessarily bad, it's like, yeah, but you could have gotten this point, 15 seconds faster, and then actually had a really good push into second point. It's stuff like that is really, really intriguing to me, just from a competitive standpoint, and then also for people who are looking to push to that next level, because it's like, okay, you could have saved 7 seconds here, and then actually your team has an extra ult and catches the other team off guard because they're 7 seconds behind to push the second point of Anubis, and you have a really good shot at taking that second point because your first push is the best push on the second point of Anubis. It's like those little things are things that you don't necessarily see, especially if you're solo queuing, but getting that perspective, especially when it's yourself, is like super, super useful.
Yeah, and one thing that helped me tremendously, I used a lot of videos like this. I never really sent any in myself, but I did use, watch a lot of them. If anybody wants to put out a VOD review of a Zenyatta play, like, I will watch it. And again, take their input for what it's worth, and try to adapt my play to try out the things they suggest. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting is when I watched people do VOD reviews that were of a higher SR than me. And when I talk about these things, like, I watch the VOD through once, and then I just watch it through again, and I record it. So it's not like I'm sitting there studying, pausing, and like really going in depth and like trying to find traces of information that I wouldn't have normally seen in a watch through. And so what I think is really insightful from a lot of them, and the one thing I'm trying to bring into mine as well, is I want you to see what I'm looking at and what information I'm gathering and where I'm getting it from when I see your perspective, right? Because it's always interesting to me to see somebody knows that somebody's up in that corner, right? Because he peeked for a half a second and I didn't catch it because I'm focused and I'm aiming. But you really need to keep your peripheral open. So it kind of is insightful to see what other people are looking at and where they're watching and the type of things they have their eye open for, and what triggers send other bits of information down the line. You know what I mean? Because it's a chain reaction, right? Like when one thing happens, it's going to lead to another thing. So when you catch it early in the chain, you can predict a lot of what's going to happen. So I don't know, I've been trying to help people know not only why, and I'm trying to show them, right? Like the other team is here, right? Like this is where they all are. We know that because we just left them or for whatever reason. And so yeah, I will review anybody at any skill level, SR level. If you're a GM and you want me to take a look at your match, it's going to be less insightful because you're higher ranked than me. But I do watch a lot of comp play, and if I could only practice what I preach, I would be a better player myself. So I'm hoping to still be able to provide insight to people that are in Masters, GM, top 500. Maybe I'll send you a VOD if you're listening. But so nobody feel bad about sending. I don't care if you're bronze. It doesn't matter. Everybody has room to improve, and anybody with the attitude of, hey, I want to know what I'm doing wrong so that I can get better, in my opinion, deserves insight and help. So I'm gonna offer it to you as best I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I thought it was really great. I didn't think I think the first one was about right around 15 minutes. I think maybe a little bit more. I think it's a great time, and it was a full map. So guys, if you're interested, submit that. Tweet at HighNoon Podcast. I think probably definitely upload it on YouTube, but the best way is probably Discord, because you can message us. You can message either or both of us, and then also send. So definitely the sending goes to Death over there. Oh, I still got the finger. I can still point appropriately. Definitely send that to Death, because you don't want my input. It's going to be bad. Oh, we both still got it. Nice.
All right.
We're not fired yet. But let's actually talk about, let's just give it a third one.
Let's break it.
We're going to break it down a third time, and actually talk about some of the stuff that happened. So a couple of teams are done, gonzo. You guys get paid, disbanded, Selfless, shutting down and selling / releasing all of their rosters. Movie Star Writers, Overwatch team gone. Africa Freaks Red has disbanded. And this one, I think I may have actually predicted this, or at least alluded to this a couple of weeks ago in one of the episodes, or a couple of months ago. But Rafa is leaving Overwatch for, you guessed it, the new Quake game.
Yeah.
Not surprising, because if you literally look at the old Quake game on Steam, the trailer for it has Rafa in the videos. So I am not surprised. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, but Death, what are your thoughts on some of these disbandings?
One more bit of news here. Lunatic High has officially announced that they have a second team roster consisting of but Bunny, I got that one right. M Young Hoon, Do Hyun, and then Guardian, Alarm, and Flash make up that roster. So one last bit of news. Flash. I didn't quite get into the notes, but I wanted to make sure that we were able to bring that to you as well.
Please tell me that their second team is called Lunatic Low.
I don't think so.
Well, a man can dream.
My thoughts about these disbandings and the teams and everything like that is basically the same as it has been. This isn't going to stop. The teams that aren't sponsored, so you guys get paid, as specifically the one I'm talking about here.
Wait, they don't get paid?
They're not going to get a sponsorship right now. So they have went to try to diffuse their roster into the rosters out there that have sponsorships that are looking for players. So they're pursuing individual opportunities instead of sticking together as a roster. I totally get it. I completely understand. It's unfortunate to see, because I love just the trolly nature of them playing against pro teams and winning. Like it's just phenomenal. It's
great.
So be it. Movie Star Riders dropped their Overwatch team. That was about the time I knew they were an organization and not just a random group of guys. So, it's unfortunate, but again, it's just because we didn't even know they were an org, right? That says that they're kind of on the smaller end of the org spectrum, and it's
Right.
nothing against them, nothing personal, but they probably weren't interested in Overwatch League, or if they were interested, couldn't afford it, and so they were out of the running. And it's going to continue to happen. We're going to see a lot of these teams stick together, like Selfless. I don't know that they're going anywhere. They're probably just going to rebrand, go back to an old, whatever their old brand was before Selfless. I can't remember. Might have been, were they Graviton Surge? Anyway, I can't remember.
No,
but
geez, Graviton Surge was so long ago. No, Graviton Surge was Misfits. Old Misfits.
Okay.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Well, anyways, yeah, they'll probably just go back to an old rebranding. But I think the big thing here is the sad thing is that Rafa leaves Overwatch. Liquid was doing so well. They were really getting somewhere. They were onto something. And as far as I know, that's their shot calling Lucio out the door. So that might be pretty tough. And it's going to take them a minute to kind of recoup and get everything figured out. But I do know, there's not a plethora of shot calling Lucios out there, but assuming Rafa did shot call for them, Joe Meister's still available, stuff like that. So there's players out there that do have shot calling experience that could be picked. I think Avast is out there too. He's a shot calling Lucio. So there's options. Hopefully they can pick one up and not really drop off too much, because as much as I liked Rafa and thought he made an impact, his joining didn't have an immediate success story behind it. It still took time. They still had to build up.
Actually.
So the whole roster as a whole has grown. And your Lucio helps, and when he's shot calling, he does kind of drive the ship a little bit. But as long as it's an experienced shot caller that knows what they're doing and gets along relatively well with the team, I think it's a replaceable spot. At least I hope so. We're replacing our Lucio right now.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Like, that had to have been his plan the whole time. Like, I think he was a Quake player, like one of the best Quake players. Overwatch comes out, it's like, oh, maybe this will be like the next Quake, and it's like, it really doesn't feel that much like Quake, but there's not another Quake, so I'm going to keep playing this. Oh, wait, there's a new Quake coming out. Okay.
Right, like, he's a literal rock star immediately. He's the Seagull of Quake right now.
Yeah.
And he just went over there. So it totally makes sense from a personal growth standpoint or a personal success standpoint that he needs to look out for himself. And honestly, with his history, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just really enjoys playing Quake way more than he does Overwatch. It's unthinkable to me, but it's I understand not everybody has the same opinions as I do. People are wrong every day.
I mean, you saw Mendo and Pluppy and a lot of those other Nordic and Swedish guys play a lot of Quake when it was out, because I think that's just like what they grew up on and like what they got their wings on, so to speak. So I honestly wouldn't even be even though I don't think Quake is going to be nearly as big as Overwatch in terms of the esports scene. Like, I think there is still definitely going to be Quake esports, and I think there's going to be, not everyone wants to be, a superstar necessarily. They can be really good at, or like a superstar in the fame and fortune type of thing. Maybe they just want to play the game they like for a living and not necessarily be like
Overwatch League superstar worldwide.
Bunch of jerks.
Yeah, I mean, especially since a lot of these guys were like, you know what, we're just gonna play on a team that's all Swedes because we don't really want to travel, and we don't want to etc. So who knows? We might. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple more people leave too.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. It's tough too, because Quake has such a separate niche in the FPS community, and I was never into it, so I can't speak with authority about what that niche is. But it's just a different style of game, and the esports plays out very differently, and it's got a whole different feel to it. So it's a smaller section of the population, but there's obviously going to be a group of people that much prefer, and I think that's why it's not going to be as successul of a game, is because that style's kind of gotten left behind a little bit, and I don't know if they're adapting it with this new game or not. But
super fast, and I think the game rewards much more heavily individual skill versus team cohesion.
Right.
But team cohesion is obviously still important. I don't even know if the esports of it is solo, or if it's. I know it used to be solo, but
I know most of what I've seen has been 1v1 stuff. But
well, yeah, I don't even know if they do 1v1 or team deathmatch or deathmatch or what. I don't know, but
we'll have to see. I mean, I know Rafa now better than I did from his Quake days because of Overwatch. So if I ever see a stream with him and a match, I will definitely check it out and check up on him.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to watch, but it's just like you said, it's a different type of game. But let's move on. We do have some PTR changes, so subject to change. Don't go in and buy stock in these changes. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of these, Death?
Sure, absolutely. So we talked how we're not going to go into the specifics. We already did a little bit on what they did to DOOFMIIST, but because he's not out and we didn't go into super specifics on his abilities
just
to begin
pretend
with,
like he was never like he used to be.
Right, exactly. And we're going to do the same. So we're going to kind of throw those out for the time being, but we're going to look at the other heroes that they're making some tweaks and some changes to. Number one, McCree. It's terrifying, right? Just to hear his name in the patch notes is terrifying.
Because he usually
Flashbang
goes from either unplayable to broken or vice versa.
Right. Now, this one is a minor change, but it is directly a buff. So Flashbang now slows targets significantly when they are stunned. This makes them less likely to slide away around a corner or something similar once they are stunned. So imagine you throw your Flashbang at somebody that's like jumping, right, and going around a corner, and so he's stunned, but he's still moving in that direction. And the intention now is that he's stays much more right exactly where you stunned him, so you're less likely to get line of sighted by him and lose the ability to hit. And it makes sense because Flashbang should be stun on the spot, like it's meant to do exactly that, so I don't mind that one. And McCree still needs a little bit of help. His ult is way better, he feels way better, he's much more viable, but boy does he not dive, so he's been pretty tough to play lately. The next change we have here is Reinhardt, his hammer. There's a couple changes to Reinhardt. I don't even know that I have them all, but these are kind of the highlights as I see them. So the hammer swing rate has been increased by 10% on top of the swing speed increase. We've gone through and tweaked many timings and other things about the hammer to make it more responsive. Overall, it should feel a lot better to swing and make contact with enemies.
That's awesome.
He's been really weird. The 20 minutes I've spent playing on him, he has felt really weird to me at times. But in all seriousness, though, you do see some of those oddities when you're watching him get played on your team, right? So I think in general, anything you could do to kind of clean him up and make him feel better will have an impact on the meta for sure. And the next thing here is that charge. Impacting another charging hero, DOOFMIIST or Reinhardt, no longer deals damage to both characters, but still causes a knockdown on both. So no damage dealt when you meet, but you're both going to fall down still. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know that I don't think it really changes anything because you're already like another Reinhardt is like, the most likely scenario that you're going to come into. Maybe not the week after DOOFMIIST comes out, but so I don't think that one will be a big thing. But there's also been another kind of slew of just cleanups. Like they said, they've gone through and tweaked some things about timings. They're continuing to do that with Reinhardt. They're trying to get all of the goofiness out of the character, make him a little better, I think, without actually changing anything. So I think charge is going to more reliably pin somebody. If you've seen it, and I've been stuck, I throw my hands up because, I'm getting charged, like it's happening. I can't do anything about it. But I just instead get launched off in a direction and I Reaper, so I just get to kill him. And it never made sense to me. I don't play Reinhardt, so I'm not super happy about it. But at the same time, it'll be good. It makes sense. Yeah. This last change, however, I do think is a big deal. Has a really good opportunity to either help dive or help hurt dive quite a bit because we've seen Zarya in the dive comp in the past, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But this is a change to Graviton Surge. So it now disables all movement abilities of affect. What does that even say? Now disables all movement abilities of affect targets.
Affected targets.
Oh, probably. Affected targets. Yeah, it's probably what I don't know. It reads a little funny, but I don't know that it's improper English. Think what happens when you get Junkrat trapped. Right? You can't dash as Tracer. Right. You can't recall as Tracer. Right. You can't shift as Mercy, Guardian Angel, and get out. You can't. None of that happens now. So if you get caught in the grav, you're staying. Your only saving grace will be the Zenyatta ultimate once you're in there. That'll still be able to be activated.
Reaper's shift should still work. It's just you can't move.
That'll be interesting to see. I want to test that because
just based on what it says, that's what I would think. But who knows?
Because if it's not a movement ability, but it does, I think, increase movement. So if it disables, that's going to be curious because if you can
you can shift out of a Junkrat trapped with Reaper too, but you can't move. You just don't take damage.
Yeah, as soon as you said it, I was trying to think if I've ever activated shift when inside the trap. I know I've been trapped while shift. Okay, while Wraith forming, I know I've been trapped. but I don't know that I've ever activated it in the
No,
trap. But
I'm
I don't know.
pretty sure
That'll be
you-
curious.
yeah.
We'll have to
Yeah,
do some
yeah.
testing. But if that's true,
For
then
science.
I would think you can do it. I would think you'll be able to go immune but not run away.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think you can Reinhardt charge out anymore. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting here. Graviton Surge, in my opinion, that's going to make it a whole lot better. Now you get that split moment where you know that split second where you're able to get the Mercy, but then he just shifts off and runs to fly to the Pharah. It's really annoying. Now that can't happen. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's just going to make, like, I think it makes it more consistent too, because it was like you could get out with Tracer, you could get out with a couple other people, but you couldn't like Pharah shift out of it, which didn't really make that much sense to me. So it's like, nope, now you can't do anything.
I feel like you couldn't monkey jump out either. I don't know that Winston could leap out.
No, I
think he started to go and then sucked back in.
Sucked back in. Yeah, so it was just really weird. I don't know.
But now it'll feel more consistent.
Yep.
And,
Consistently bad for non-Zarya.
Far worse if you're not Zarya, but at the same time, I think we're all looking at the meta and the 100% Winston pick rate and going, something needs to change, and I'm glad they're not going, well, let's just fix Winston and change him, because I don't think that's the way to go about it.
I like Winston a lot. He feels very good, but he doesn't feel broken.
Yeah, it's just his fit in the comp is really good at the moment, and nothing's been able to break it out.
Which I think is really great. Like, I think that's a good place to be. It's like, get better with Reaper. And we're starting to see that even a little bit, too, so.
Yeah, buff his counter. Do something to bring Roadhog back a little bit. You know, and they said they're looking at his defensive abilities.
Yeah.
What defensive abilities?
His health, I guess.
Yeah, he's got HP and he can heal himself. So he's got the asthma inhaler.
What if he has the asthma inhaler and it's like, it works like Bastion, where you can move while using it?
Or he deflects while he's using it. Like a Genji deflects. Everything pings up.
And it also hooks too.
Yes, yeah, just fires, perfect aim hooks.
It's just auto hooks, auto combos. It's just like the best thing ever. Yeah, no, I like it.
So it would be pretty curious to see Roadhog become a tank in some way, shape, or form.
Which is weird because he is one.
It's a weird thought, but no, I mean his HP definitely makes him a tank. You know, he's just he's a bully. You know, and that's what he used to be. And they need to get that back. So I don't know. I don't know that defensive abilities is the right way to do it, but overall his damage output isn't the same. Like the overreaction to him, I think was correct. Like I don't think it was an overreaction for the pro scene, but I think the fact that he's disappeared completely from my comp games is, you know what I mean? Like when I'm queuing on an alt and I'm in like plat or diamond, like if you're a good Roadhog, play Roadhog. Like he does the same damage. He got an extra shot. He does less damage, but he attacks faster at the same rate. The only thing that's bad about him now is it's just the hook is so wildly inconsistent, and you just whether or not you kill the person is really frustrating. So I don't know, bring a friend or two, and if they're playing DPS, just have them help you, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's actually it's going to be it for the show. Actually, we're at almost an hour, so we tangented and laughed ourselves all the way to the bank. So.
Yeah, we knew we didn't have much, so we let it go a little wild from the beginning.
Yeah, which is great. But yeah, so that's gonna be just about. Is there any last minute stuff, Death, that we need to talk about or get to?
Well, I do have an iTunes review for us here.
Ooh.
So we have a Best Podcast NA titled 5-star review from Polar Bear, member of CIA, which is the team that I coach, kind of the second team where NSA, they're CIA. They decided to do that. We didn't.
I like it.
We didn't make them or anything like that. But this is, from Polar Bear. He is the main tank over there. So good jobs, guys. Really enjoy the podcast. P.S. Boston's the worst, I think is what that says.
I doubt it, but
I'm pretty sure it doesn't say anything positive about Boston in that PS. So yeah, we'll just leave it at Boston's the worst, because I think, I don't know, it's hard to read. There's like a symbol in there. Boston, and then like a greater than symbol in New York. I don't know. So Boston's the worst. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, I'm all about Boston, but when you're trying to say it's better than New York, I'm off.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any metrics to prove that. I mean, I'm not a big fan
Red
of New
Sox
York
greater
or
than
Boston.
Yankees for sure.
Right. You want to make that claim? I don't even care.
Yeah.
I actually agree with you on that one.
Yeah. Anything else?
Patriots are garbage. You don't get me mad talking.
Well, the Patriots are
about
good,
Boston.
but that has nothing to do with Boston.
Cheating garbage. But yeah, like you can only you want to get me, guys. You got to bring up the Patriots specific. Like no animosity towards Boston. I lived a half an hour away for a couple months. Wasn't the worst. Wasn't the best. Wasn't the worst.
You know, I'm honestly not even that enthralled by Boston. Like, honestly, like I'd probably just rather live in Buffalo. It's not that much of an upgrade over Buffalo where it'd be worth the cost of living increase. Is what it boils down to. But that's going to be just about it, guys. So a couple of things at the end of the show. iTunes reviews, always super helpful. Let us know what you think. I did fix some settings for the sound, so we should be good. We had some live people kind of in today letting us know if they heard anything. We didn't get any feedback about that. If there was, please let us know with a timestamp so that we can try to fix this. We talked with some of our podcast friends who helped us out. I changed some Skype settings, so I'm pretty sure that's what was causing the weird like audio fluctuations for me. But that's it. So let us know, you know, how the audio levels were. It should be fixed. Really appreciate the feedback on that, and we are direly working to get that fixed. Also, guys, if you want your play reviewed, send it in either on the now public Discord channel or to HighNoon Podcast on Twitter. Deathblow is being nice enough to do these reviews, and if it makes sense, he'll make videos too. The first one's out there, the HighNoon solo queue match review. VOD review. There we go. I really enjoyed it, even like, you know, outside of just, you know, being part of the podcast. I just really enjoyed it. It was very informative. You know, you did a really great job on that. So pat yourself on the back for that one. And we do have another one lined up to at least review. Not sure if the video is going to get made or not, but send those over. Death will be more than happy to look at them and maybe make some videos too. So that's going to be it, guys. Huge thanks to everyone, as always, all the patrons, all the new folks over on the Discord channel. It is now public. You can head on over to highnoonpodcast.com for that. Death, any last minute shout outs or anything?
No, I think that's it. You stole the one I steal from you.
Yeah.
You should just repeat it.
I am going to. Everything you could ever want or need, our contact info, our Twitters, all that good stuff, the YouTube channel, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all that good stuff is over at highnoonpodcast.com. Huge thanks to all the patrons who support us financially as well as morally and spiritually. I don't know why I threw that in there, but and physically as well. They support us physically. They are an actual physical structure that keeps us up every day in and day out. If you want to support us via Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/highnoonpodcast. Huge thanks to Maturino for sponsoring our SoundCloud, and huge thanks to Adam Hoek, who created the awesome outro music that you are about to hear. But guys, for Deathblow, I'm the Blevins. Remember, it is high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
Soldier Says episode 76 is the best one yet.
Woo!